Last night was a big one for football fans, and although the draft is only 1 week away, there was a little teaser before Christmas morning. Like the present you open before Christmas Day, we unboxed the 2019 NFL schedule, which means now we know who the Eagles are playing and when over the course of the 2019 season. And there's a lot to get through here. Apparently, by basic arithmetic, the Eagles have the 7th easiest schedule in the NFL. I would beg to differ. I think strength of schedule and scheduling of schedule are two very different things, and that's what we're going to break down in this video. So if you're new around here, guys, make sure you leave a like, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be bringing you some fire draft content over the next couple of weeks here on Philly Sports Network. So the main things I look out for straight away are the opening game of the season, kind of who you're going to play, what's the tone, is it going to be a long slog to start, can you get an easy win under your belt and generate some momentum. Secondly is of course when the bye week is, which somehow always seems to come back and bite Philly in the rear. And C, those last 4 games. What are the last stretch of the season going to have in store for you? Are we going to see a nice run in where you can maybe take the foot off the gas, secure an NFC East title, or are you going to have to scrap for every last win? And let's just say it's going to be a fun season. I'm going to break this down into quarters, okay? So weeks 1 to 4, 5 to 9, and then the other ones, how quarters work. Kicking things off with week 1, a game against the Washington Redskins, and beware because they are quite deceptive. They're actually 6-3 before Alex Smith got injured, and now we don't really know what the future has in store for Alex Smith. Is he going to come back? Is it going to be Colt McCoy? Is it going to be someone else? We genuinely don't know. However, the one thing to bear in mind is that they'll have some firepower returning, because the wheels fell off well and truly last year. After Alex Smith went down, the entire offensive line, like a domino effect, all just slowly but surely fell to pieces, which left Washington next to no ammo. They were already without their LSU draftee running back. Adrian Peterson was out as well. There was nothing Washington could do offensively, which left, of course, Ryan Kerrigan and everyone on defense to pick up the pieces. The last time the Eagles played Washington in week 1 was a good memory. Yeah, it was a good memory. And now this game is at the Link. Deshaun Jackson against his former team as well. This should be a very fiery atmosphere, and hypothetically it's a walk in the park for Philadelphia. This should be a win given the uncertainty in the Washington faces right now. Now that doesn't say that's going to be the case, but if there's ever a game that's going to kick things off the right way, get the Eagles a W in the column early on and kickstart their season, this is the one to do it. Week 2, Falcons on the road. Now, this one is tricky. The Eagles haven't actually played a game in Atlanta since 2015, but bizarrely have won the last 3 games. And as we all know, they've really been twisting that knife a little bit, haven't they? Of course, after knocking Atlanta out of the playoffs in 2017, they come back to the start of 2018 with Nick Foles at the helm once more and just win in ultimate fashion. They just win in the most miraculous of ways. You can't write it. And you've got to feel like the Eagles could be Atlanta's bogey team. Now, what's interesting to me is that the Falcons last year had one of the most perplexing seasons imaginable. On offense, they're one of the most destructive units possible, and on defense, it was a total opposite. Their secondary was broken from the inside out. Can't relate to that one. And they just ended up giving up yards after yards and really struggling on 3rd down especially. The big question here, of course, is can Ronald Darby keep Julio Jones contained? He's struggled to do so in the past, as has Jalen Mills. Will this be the year that changes? If the Eagles can start out 2-0 and beat the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta, that's going to be one hell of a fiery start to the season. And when you take a look at the rest of the schedule later on, it's going to be very much needed. So this should be a very fiery game. There's no such thing as a boring Atlanta and Philadelphia game. He says now, give it a few months and I'm sure we'll end up looking like, wow, that was a good 3-3 game that went to overtime and ended in a tie. That was good. To me, this could be a trap game off the bat. It's the 2nd game of the season. Emotions are still high. Don't be surprised here if this one again comes down to the wire. Week 3, the Lions come to town, and we're not going to make a pun about taming them, but we will reference the Snowball of 2013. It's the first time the teams have played at the Link since then, and the Lions have actually had a very strong off-season so far. They spent pretty much the entire season last year, not just off-season, but the season as well, shoring up the defensive front. They traded for Snacks Harrison, who immediately injected some run defense prowess into the team. Then they go out and acquire Trey Flowers from the New England Patriots, who of course links up with Matt Patricia. The real question here for me is going to be Kenny Golladay. Can he take the next step? Is Matt Stafford a top 10 quarterback? I don't know. I love what Jim Bob Cooter does offensively, so maybe they can kind of turn it around, but they were stagnant as anything last year. That Lions team just could not generate anything. Stafford looked like he couldn't be bothered half the time. Maybe they'll turn it around. This is another winnable game for the Eagles. There's a strong chance they open out going 3-0. We're just going to hope that's the case. Week 4 at the Packers. And no, it's not preseason where it's Brent Hundley versus Nate Sudfeld. This is going to be Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur, Doug Peterson. That is going to be a filthy matchup, and I can't wait for it. This is the sort of thing as a football fan you dream about. Two of the most exciting quarterbacks in the NFL going at it. It should be an offensive masterclass. Defensively, I think the Eagles still have the upper hand. It's just going to be a case of what can Matt LaFleur do? What's going to change in that Packers offense now Mike McCarthy is out of the picture? It's going to be fun, but I do think the Eagles could sneak an upset here. Week 5, the New York Jets, and on my notes here I've got one word written down: win. Week 6, this is going to be the start of the trickiest stretch in this schedule, and it's something where no other team has 3 back-to-back road games. And it's not just the road games, it's the opponents they're playing. In week 6, 7 and 8, the Eagles have got Minnesota, Dallas and Buffalo. Of course, the last time the Eagles played in Minnesota, they was it they won? I think they won a Super Bowl. Yeah, that was it. They won Super Bowl 52. So maybe they'll keep that run going. We can only hope. The tricky part is here, though, is that Kirk Cousins has a tendency to be a thorn in the side of this Eagles team. He's 5-3 in his career as a starter against the Eagles. And with Dalvin Cook now back in the fray and a pair of very intimidating receivers in Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, the defense is going to have their handful. This is their second real challenge of the 2019 campaign. It's going to come down to, once again, can Carson Wentz lift the team up to lead this team against what is still a very, very intimidating defense that has retained a lot of its big name players, and just give Minnesota fans another reason to hate, because that seems to be the most fun thing about the last couple of years, is that Minnesota fans get very annoyed very easily. Week 7 into Jerry World, and the last time the Eagles went to Jerry World, that was a heartbreaking overtime loss of 29-12. We won't talk about that. We won't. I mean, Dak Prescott actually looked serviceable. We threw for over 400 yards. Zeke Elliott just couldn't be stopped. That was one of the most... That was a moment I thought the season came to an end. I was like, there is no rebounding from that. Obviously, we were proven otherwise, but that was a real turnpike moment. It's a fork in the road. Like, that's it. Now, that's the nail in the coffin. It wasn't. This is going to be different this time around. Both Wentz and Prescott entering their contract years, both playing for big value. Now Dak Prescott has got a whole year with Amari Cooper. We know what Zeke Elliott can do. We know the offensive line is great. The Eagles and Cowboys games, I know Eagles fans hate them. They're good games to watch. They're always spicy. There's a lot of offense, a lot of turnovers, bizarrely, which is a bit rare. Well, not when we're talking about Dak Prescott. But on defense, of course, the Cowboys added Christian Covington and Robert Quinn as well. So be wary of that. I think this could be a game in Jerry World. The Eagles may take the first loss. They could even it out. A sweep of the NFC East may not be as simple as some suggest, but it'll be a fun game nonetheless. So that is obviously game number 2 on the road. They go from there into the Bills. So Buffalo's always cold. You never know what the weather's going to be. Are we going to get a heat wave? Is it going to be just pouring it down with snow? Will there be 6 fans in attendance? Will there be 6,000? Will there be 60,000? We don't know. But the thing is with Buffalo is that they allowed the lowest number of passing yards by average by any team in 2018. It's a very young, very hungry secondary, and the big question is obviously going to be, what will Josh Allen do in year number 2? Can the Eagles keep that mobile quarterback inside the pocket? Can they force him to put the game on his shoulders, take away the run? That's the key to beating the Bills early on. They're going to need a strong draft. They've got a very intimidating defense. That's a trap game. To me, that Week 8 game is a trap. It's Sean McDermott, it's Doug Peterson, 2 of the Andy Reid coaching tree guys just, you know. Week 9, they come off of that 3-game road trip exhausted. They're probably jet lagged. They've had a very rough go of it, attrition-wise. And then they face Khalil Mack, the Chicago Bears defense. Ugh. Now, luckily, it's at home, so it's not the end of the world. That's still going to be a big-time game for the Philadelphia Eagles. The thing to note here, obviously, is they've beat them in the playoffs. They took them down to the wire with Nick Foles and a marginalised offense. Will they do the same with Carson Wentz at the helm? With Jordan Howard, the revenge game of Jordan Howard is going to be the most fun thing to watch. That Bears run D is elite. So is Jordan Howard when he's on a good day, and I think behind that Eagles offensive front, they could get a taste of their own medicine. The game plan is the same as it always was. Trubisky, I don't think, is the type of quarterback you can depend on in the 4th quarter. If you put the game on his shoulders, is he going to choke it away and make dreadful decisions? Possibly. Week 10, Bye. Bit late, that one, isn't it? A bit, a week. Could they not have put it in between that 3-game road stretch? Would that not have... No? Sure, okay. Have a little rest, guys. Cup of tea, sit in there, get your halftime oranges in, recap on what could be, at that point, a 6-3 start, I would say would be a good aim for there. Maybe 7-2. Let's not get too adventurous here, but 6-3, 7-2, I would say is passable at that point. In week 11, you've then got the New England Patriots, and that... Yes, I know Super Bowl 52 happened, but this is a team that have got at least 10 wins in their last 16 seasons. Like, that's mad. Like, in each of the last 16, they've got at least 10. Bill Belichick is a god. Tom Brady is going to be a future Hall of Famer, although he kind of is dipping. I mean, depending on who you talk to. If you want to look at numbers, he's not. If you look at the film, it's all just kind of check down Charlie's underneath. So, I don't know. But they've added Michael Bennett, which at the expense of the Eagles could be something that comes back to bite them next season and beyond. But this is going to be a game that's fun to watch nonetheless. It's at home. But I feel like Belichick has seen enough tape of Super Bowl 52 in his nightmares not to let a repeat happen. However, the one thing I know is Eagles-Patriots 2015. Sam Bradford led the Eagles to a victory. Why can't Carson Wentz? Even in that Chip Kelly era, that Sam Bradford game was one of my favourites to watch. I loved that so damn much. I think there was a Malcolm Jenkins interception as well. Absolutely brilliant game. I would love to see the Eagles go out and just really stick it to the Patriots. Come off that bye, get explosive, and just put the Patriots back in their place. That would be fun. But then in week 12, they host the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson, now the NFL's biggest baller. He comes to town with Schottenheimer's offense. It's just gonna be a mess, isn't it? It always is. The Eagles have not exactly fared well in these games in recent years. The Seattle Seahawks are 3-0 at the Lincoln, have won 6 of their last 7. Good. Nice. But the last time these two played, most memorably, Carson Wentz made one of the most ridiculous throws of all time. The Seahawks are one of those teams, though, that defensively never go away. You've got my all-time linebacker crush in KJ Wright. You've got Bobby Wagner, a very strong defense. Now they're sorting out the run game. Now Russell Wilson isn't having to carry... Well, he still is having to carry the team, but this is going to be another tight matchup. It's at home though, so this is a chance to take away that pressure of the 12s, take away that reputation, that intimidation and altitude. Let's give the advantage to the Eagles, get that home crowd pumped up and really try and rock Russell Wilson and that Seattle offense. I think it's a chance the Eagles steal that one. That, to me, that week 11 and week 12 are games I think the Eagles will get written off on and they'll still come back and find a way to win. Week 13 in Miami, we're all going on a summer holiday. No more losing for 7 days. Whatever is left of that Miami team isn't really going to have much of a chance. I mean, they have got a very young secondary, Xavier Howard and Minkah Fitzpatrick, although they did oddly deploy Minkah Fitzpatrick in every way but the right way last year. And it's their old defensive coordinator who has now been hired by Jim Schwartz as a special supervisor assistant. So that's good. Should be a W. That's no question there. But then, the end to the season, from week 14 to 17, you have got 4 back-to-back divisional games. No matter what happens in those 13 weeks prior, it's all going to come down to this week. 4 games on the bounce against divisional opponents. If the Eagles end up 3 off the lead, there is a chance they sneak into the playoffs. You never know. We know what the Giants are capable of. They're not meeting the Giants until week 14, and what really annoys me is it doesn't matter what shape the Giants are in, they always try to play the Eagles close. Except for that 27-0 blowout. That wasn't close. Outside of that, it's either been a Jake Elliott field goal, or, let's be brutally honest, that's the Saquon Barkley game where he ran the Eagles ragged in the first half, tearing them a new one, disappeared in the second half. If it wasn't for that, I don't think the Eagles would have won that game. The Giants kind of had the Eagles where they wanted. The Birds rallied heavily in the second half, but that was very near. That was a wipe the sweat from my ginormous forehead moment. That wasn't a pretty sight. So be wary of the New York Giants. The first game is at home. That one should be a win. You've then got a second game against Washington, who should be dead in the water at that point. They should just be a sitting duck, ready for Carson Wentz to snipe away. Will he do so? I don't know, but I think there's a lot of potential there. Those 2 games should be wins. Then you get Dallas in Philadelphia. That is going to be, in my opinion, the biggest matchup of the season. Because again, no matter how it all pans out, the division, I think, comes down to week 16 in Dallas. Both teams are going to be strong. Both teams have strong running games, a very dominant offensive line. And when you look at how they're building the defense, there's a lot to be wary about. The first game's going to say a lot. The second one could decide everything. And in week 17, the Giants... I don't know, at that point the Giants are going to be kind of like, 2 wins. They're not going to fight for anything other than to try and play spoil sport. I think the Eagles, if they don't wrap up the division in week 16, will look to do it against the Giants, but they'll be dead and buried at that point. So that 4-game stretch against divisional opponents isn't as bad as it sounds, because 3 of those games should be certain wins. But again, it's Dallas that hold the keys, and the Eagles will need to snatch it from them if they're to celebrate another NFC East crown. The big takeaways I've got, though, honestly, from that schedule: Week 10 bye is the worst. That's no good. We know how injury prone this team can be, how fragile it can be at times. That's not going to help anyone. 5 primetime games, that's tying the most in the NFL. The world loves Carson Wentz. Why wouldn't they? That brutal post-bye stretch is going to be a nightmare. That could make or break those final 4 games. And those 3 road games back-to-back, they're the only teams to do it in the NFL, so someone is not happy with the Philadelphia Eagles. But what do you think the Eagles are going to go in 2019? I think April predictions for scheduling is way too silly. So much can change between now and the season opener in September, but the strength of schedule is okay. That's not the issue. It's the scheduling. It's the 3 back-to-back road games. It's the 4 divisional games at the end. It's playing the Seahawks and the Patriots off a bye. It's so tough. Like, that in itself is going to cause problems. So, I don't know. I think the Eagles can easily rack up between 10 and 12 wins. I won't want to say anything further than that right now, but it's going to be interesting to see how each of those teams draft and what changes between now and week 1. But let me know your very, very early predictions in these comments, guys. We can always go back to them at the end of next season. I hope you enjoyed watching. From myself, Liam Jenkins. Stick around for that. Hit subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at LiamJenkins21. We'll see you soon.